Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a whole new episode of Full Steam Ahead. I'm your host, Zoe, when my co-host on the other side can too. How was your weekend, my man?
It was good. It was good. Play some baseball, did some shopping, but other than that, it went pretty good. How about yours?
Good. Hanging in there and watching March Madness. How you been keeping up with that?
Oh yeah, my bracket was busted in the second game.
So yeah, that a reason why I did not want to do a bracket is so much stress trying to figure out who's gonna make it, which team made it. If your bracket's like kind of good, I think there's
Mhm.
zero remaining brackets that are
Yeah,
perfect from March Madness.
and then the funny thing is, I made three brackets because I didn't have time to do all 25, and I did two that I actually tried on. I was doing it right, but my last bracket, I was doing it like the ones that I knew were gonna win. But and that one I picked a little bit more upsets, and that's the one I actually was doing a lot better on. So the third one, the one I just took me like 2 minutes to do it, is actually the one
Uh,
that's the best out of the three.
well, we're recording this on a Sunday night actually, and I got two of the colleges I'm going to. Well, one I graduated with A&M,
Yeah.
and then the one right now I'm working on my master's over there at U of H. So it's kind of hard for me to. Man, I think I got to go U of H though. I think you got to
Ooh,
go with the Cougs right now because
you
they're
know,
playing pretty good. They've been playing pretty
yeah,
good.
growing up in Houston, I mean, I have no hate for U of H, but again, we did graduate from A&M, but I have U of H too. Actually, I have U of H winning the whole thing. And so,
Kelvin Sampson has built up that basketball program though over
yeah,
there,
yeah,
and I
absolutely.
mean his first year in the Big 12 was not bad at all. Almost winning the Big 12 championship, but they got bigger aspects trying to win that title for the first time.
Yeah, who do you have taking it all?
I got U of H. I actually got the
Okay,
Cougs going all the way with Jamal Shed. That guy is special, dude. That guy, defensive player of the year, Big 12 player of the year, special type
yeah.
player. But we'll see what happens. I don't know. Obviously, they're not playing when we're recording right now, so we'll just have to see what happens on Monday. But this is episode 165, 2024 Astros opening day roster projections. The Astros have yet to announce the opening day roster, who's going to be on, who's not going to be on. So we're going to project who could be on the roster before Monday. Possibly their Monday is going to be the day that they'll announce the official roster, but on this Sunday night, we will be trying to figure this out. But Angel, before we get started, what do you got to say?
You know where to follow us. See the tick in the bottom. All social media accounts, wherever you're at, wherever you get your podcast, we are there. Follow us, hit those likes buttons, subscribe buttons, and we appreciate all of your support.
Most definitely. You know how many subscribers we're at right now?
Ooh, talk to me. I haven't looked at the numbers.
I mean, it's not a big number, but it's a number.
No,
69.
69. Nice. Nice.
Nice. So yeah, we're trying to build that up. Hopefully, we get to triple digits this coming year in
Yeah.
2024. So make sure to subscribe, like Angel said, like, comment, rate us, give us reviews, comments, all that stuff. So we appreciate it. But first up on Astros Roundup, Angel. It's the title. Basically, Astros haven't officially announced their opening day roster, so we're going to project it real quick. So let's get the catchers out of the way. Catchers are obviously going to be Yonder Diaz as the opening day catcher and everyday starter, I would say, and then Victor Caratini being the backup. Cesar Salazar was optioned that past week to AAA, so he is not on the roster. But them two guys, I would see, are locks for the catching position. Let's move to infielders now, Angel, because this one kind of gets a little not tricky, but there's some ups and downs right now. Jose Abreu starting at first base, Jose Altuve starting at second base, Jeremy Pena starting at short, and Alex Bregman starting at third. So now we got two backup options we can, put out there. If you're not including Mauricio Dubon because he's the utility guy, he usually plays the infield and the outfield. Infielders John Singleton and infielder Gray Kessinger, which we'll talk about the injury updates with him because Kessinger is dealing with a right hamstring strain. But John Singleton, too, on the other hand, he looks like a lock for the backup first base option. Gray Kessinger as well. If you don't put Mauricio Dubon in the infield, Gray Kessinger usually backs up Jeremy Pena in the shortstop position. So give me your thoughts. What do you think about that?
Yeah, the only question mark for me is Great Kessinger as well. I don't know if they'll go with another outfielder. I know he's been battling that injury as well, so that might deprive him from making the opening day roster. But I mean, we're saying projections, but based on all the guys that have been optioned and what's who's left on the roster, it's pretty accurate, right? It's a pretty accurate projection. The only thing we're trying to uh, like predict is basically those last two, three roster rooms, roster spots available. But it's gonna be the same infielder from last year. So that infield from last year was pretty good, uh, and it will continue to be pretty good as well. I do like Dubon, and he plays everywhere. He did play a little first base as well last year, and obviously can play the outfield.
Yeah, Doobie's gonna probably be the like we said, the utility guy that's gonna be in the infield and outfield. Kessinger defensively, I really like how he, you know, backs up Jeremy Pena. He backs up every infielder, I guess you could say too. With David Hensley not on the roster because he was usually a guy that could back up the infield as well. It looks like to me Kessinger has that lock in the middle infield to the third base. Actually, I think he did play some first base as well last year too. So being that utility guy around the infield, I guess you could say. So
Absolutely.
now let's go with the outfielders. Jordan Alvarez is a lock. Chas McCormick's a lock. Jake Meyers is a lock. And Kyle Tucker is the lock. So Tucker being the everyday starting right fielder. We've talked about this in the last episode with the platoon of center field and left field. You're going to see Chas McCormick, I say, in the left field and center field spots. Jordan's going to get some days at left field, and obviously he'll get some days at DH. Jake Meyers, too, will be the center fielding guy. We talked about platooning him. He'll probably be in the center field position or on the bench. But one guy comes into our mind, Angel, and that is Corey Julks. Do we
Yeah.
see him making the roster for opening day?
You know, it was I believe it was either between him or Luperfieder, and Luperfieder has been told he will start in he was reassigned to minor league camp, which was a big surprise because of how well he was playing in the spring. However, Corey Jokes has the experience from last year. He's worked on some things, but even though he has experience, it's still a little bit surprising to me that Corey Jokes has make the team. He is batting 239 this spring with a 286 on base percentage, 413 slugging, 2 home runs, and 6 RBIs. I mean, I get the move, and we'll talk about the move a little bit, or like later in the show of why Looper Feeder was probably optioned off, but it was a little surprising. So
Yeah, I think Jokes does get it just for the fact, like you're saying, that experience. He's played in the majors last year, making his debut, so he has that experience. Of course, there were some up and downs from last year as well. He was optioned in AAA too, so I could see him possibly being that guy. It's just funny to me because now you're gonna have, let's say, three left fielders. You're gonna have Jordan Alvarez, McCormick, and now Jokes. Well, I don't think we've seen Corey Jokes in center. Not that in
no,
my
but
knowledge
I think
of.
he played right field as well. So if
Okay, so he could pay.
I'll
He
check
can
in,
help
yeah,
Kyle Tucker and right. I'm pretty sure Chas McCormick too. The only guy I believe that's going to be an everyday center fielder and not play the corners in the outfield is going to be Jake Meyers
yeah,
because
have
of
to
the
say
range
yeah.
that he shows. His arm's not the strongest, but he has a decent arm. So yeah, I think Corey Jokes is possibly going to be that guy. Looper, we'll talk about a little bit more with Luperfido. To me, with like last year, he kind of compared like obviously he's a sixth prospect, but the what he contributed this spring and what he has done, I compared that to Justin Dearden last year because you remember Dearden was playing a
Yeah.
pretty damn good outfielder last year, hitting defensively, all that type of stuff. Loperfido's doing that this year with the Astros. So yeah, it's kind of a shocker, but at the same time too, it's going to give him a little bit more time to develop. And like Angel said, we'll talk about his news coming up during the show. So let's start with the starting pitchers. We already know that Jose Urquidy is going to be on the IL. We know Justin Verlander is going to be on the IL. We really don't have to go into more detail with LMJ and Luis Garcia, but starting pitchers, real quick: Framber Valdez, Christian Javier, Hunter Brown, Ronel Blanco, and JP France. Them are locks, I think, for the Astros. I
Okay.
don't see any other guy being. I don't see this rotation going six man unless needed. And if it's going to go to a six man, there's a possibility we can both say it'll be Brandon Bielak joining that spot. So
Mhm.
5-man rotation so far for the Astros in the beginning of the season. I think them are locks as of right now for the starters.
Yeah, 100%. I think the way you even read them could be the starting, like the order they go in the rotation as well.
Yeah, so I think those guys are locked for the starting rotation. It'll be interesting to see what happens when Justin Verlander comes back, when Jose Urquidy comes back, see what's going on during the season, how Hunter Brown's progressing. JP Francis, them two guys are pitching their second full season. Well, actually, JP will be pitching his first full season. Hunter Brown will be pitching his second full season in a Astros uniform. So just monitor that situation down the road. And last but not least, let's go with the relief pitchers, Angel, Rafael Montero, Brandon Belak, Seth Martinez, Bennett Sousa, Brian Abreu, Ryan Presley, Josh Hader. Those guys, as I can see, are locks. The one in the toss up in the air for me is going to be Bennett Sousa. I believe
Yeah.
it's either between him or Parker Mashinsky. Dana Brown has also had mentioned Taylor Scott, who was a non-roster invitee into Astros spring training camp. He could be a possible guy as he's had a pretty good spring for the Astros. So I think the ones that I've named are starters in that relief role. But Bennett Sousa to me is the guy that could be possibly fighting for that last spot in the bullpen.
Yeah, I agree with you. And then it just depends the way the Astros want to go because I believe Ben Souza is a lefty, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, lefty.
Yeah, so it just depends what they want to do because Parker Mashinsky's a right-handed pitcher, if I'm not mistaken. So again, it's just the way they see uh the next few series, matchup wise and who had the better spring analytics wise. But yeah, it's a toss up. But like you said, the other relievers you mentioned are locks, and that Ryan Abreu, Ryan Presley, Josh Hader is going to be doing it'll be phenomenal at the back end. And then
Yeah, I
Seth
think
Martinez has had a really great spring. I'm sorry.
yeah, he has too, and that's why I say, I mean, Seth Martinez too has had like MLB experience with the Astros last year. He did a great job in the first half of the season for the Astros. Second half, a little rocky, a little rough. Some relief roles that he was in, but the first half of the season, the Astros saw what he can do, what he could bring to the table. He's been in some scenarios of runners in scoring position, bases loaded jams. I think he's the guy that's going to be kind of in that middle relief role for them. The back end, like you said, solidified by Brian Abreu, Ryan Presley, Josh Hader, and we've talked about before. You can either throw those guys in a save opportunity if needed. But a guy real quick that I was saying was Taylor Scott. In 10 games this spring, through 11 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 10 strikeouts, and a 2.45 ERA. So he's a right-handed pitcher. Parker Mashinsky at Bennett Sousa is a left-handed pitcher, but just depends on the numbers. I'd say just who's hot, I guess you could say, at the right time.
Yeah.
Of course, like in them scenarios too, you have Josh Hader as the only left-handed pitcher. I think you would want, if you're the Astros, to have another left-handed guy out there just in case in some situations of a lineup situation. Like if there's three back-to-back-to-back lefties in the lineup, obviously you'd put Bennett Sousa or Parker Mashinsky in that role. So just depends what the Astros are feeling. But I would project Bennett Sousa from the second half of that season last year, which he did pretty well for them um, in that last part of the season.
Yeah, and I mean we'll find out soon. So the Astros, I believe, should have the roster by Wednesday, or even maybe a little earlier. So we'll find out soon.
Yeah, they said I remember Joe Spada had saying Sunday that they would like to have
No, okay.
the roster, completed, finished, finalized, all that type of stuff. But I mean, there's some players out there that make you kind of okay, this guy's having a good spring, but also this other guy's having a great one. We got to kind of compare and contrast kind of thing, try to see what fits the team's best needs, things like that come into play. So, like Angel said, either Wednesday, possibly today, if you're listening to this show, we're recording on this on Sunday night. So, Monday could be the day that they announce the official roster for opening day. But let's move on to injury updates. And let's start off with Jake Meyers because Jake Meyers was hit by a pitch in Saturday's game on his left hand. Later in the day, Astros manager Joe Spada said Meyers will undergo x-rays on his hand. And then they officially said today, Meyers said his x-ray was negative. So great sign to see if you're an Astros fan, even for the Astros organization in that outfield depth. If Meyers would miss that puts Corey Jokes, I would say, definitely in the opening day roster, and possibly Joey Loperfido. I think could have had a
Hmm.
shot at being on that opening day, just depending on Myers' diagnosis.
Yeah, absolutely. But luckily, it was a great one for Jake. Like I know he's trying to get off to a hot start, so seeing those X-ray negative was a big sigh of relief for him.
Yeah, he's had a great spring too. Not to mention,
Hmm.
I mean, we forgot to mention that he's had a phenomenal spring for the Astros at West Palm. But next up, we really didn't get to talk about this a lot the last time because we're trying to figure out what was his MRI, and it was a right forearm strain on Jose Urquidy. So now Tuesday, this was last Tuesday, Urquidy had talked to the media and said he has inflammation in his forearm and hopes to throw in 10 to 15 days. He also said there was no ligament damage to his ulnar collateral ligament. Angel, did you know what UCL stand for?
Yeah,
Okay, I
I
was just
did.
making sure. Just making sure.
Yeah.
And but all our audience too. UCL is in your right elbow. That's the ligament, obviously, like it had says. But I would say it's a huge sigh of relief for the Astros, and I would say even Urquidy as well, because if Urquidy was going to miss some time, the Astros are having that opening day Mexico City series in Mexico City, and Urquidy, I would say, would have loved to have been a part of that, and I would think down the road, I think he's going to start one of those games in Mexico. But huge sigh of relief for the Astros and Urquidy as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if if ever Kitty's gonna be a long term, like was gonna be a long term injury, then the Astros really had to be in the market for another pitcher, and then that's basically the advantage to the seller, like to the seller as well. So like because they're like, you need a pitcher, I'm here, pay me what I want. So a big sigh of relief.
I have a question for you, real quick, before we move on to the next guy. If the damage was significant, let's say like 3 to 4 months or 2 to 3 months, kind of like a Garrett Cole situation, because you remember Garrett Cole's shut down for 2 to 3 months. If it was some type of situation like that for the Astros, do you think they're aggressive on maybe possibly getting Jordan Montgomery or possibly even Michael Lorenzen? Because now Michael Lorenzen's off the table. He signed with the Rangers for a 1 year
Mhm.
deal. But if it was significant, you think they would have actually kind of buckled down and go look for a starter?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they are. I think they're still looking for a starter. But that would have put the more pressure on the Astros to make a move done. So I would say, essentially, question. I would say yes. I would say if Urquidy was out a significant amount of time, the Astros would probably sign somebody and probably be over the luxury tax. But it's all about winning baseball games.
Yeah, especially with the right they're in, what, 7 straight ALCSs, a
Yeah.
lot of trips to the World Series. Ride it as you can go, I guess you could say. But speaking of another starting pitcher, Angel, Justin Verlander, how about that guy? He could have been, I don't know how many opening day starts he has under his belt. I'm very curious to see and know. But it looks like you're searching that real quick. Let me give the update to the audience. Wednesday, Verlander threw 20 pitches and faced live hitters for the very first time. He averaged around 92, 93 miles per hour on his fastball. Friday comes along. Verlander was can possibly face live hitters on Monday or Tuesday's game. He won't be throwing, I would say, in the Sugarland game, but throwing a live bullpen to some live hitters. I would say before the game to some Astros hitters. Um, but for Verlander to come back, I would say he's probably going to have to throw one or two more light bullpens before a rehab start that the Astros will send him off to. I could be wrong. Maybe he could just go right into the rehab starts. But I would say 1 to 2 live bullpens before they officially give the okay to Verlander to go get a rehab start, and possibly you'll probably see 1 to 2 starts before, or even three, before he gets in an Astros uniform. So you're targeting Verlander's day to be in an Astros uniform this season around mid-April, I would say, mid to end of the April month.
Yeah, I could see that as well. But to answer your question, he has made 12 opening day starts.
12 opening day.
And there's an 8 player tie on that one. And its name's been dating back to Grover, Cleveland, Alexander, and Bert Blyven. I don't know these names.
The
Um,
pronunciation.
yeah, the pronunciation. But the record for most opening day starts is Tom Seaver with 16 starts.
Tom Seaver
Yeah.
from the Miracle Mets, Hall of Famer. But what I was gonna say for Verlander, yeah, I would say, like I was saying, 1 to 2 live bullpens before he gets a rehab start, and then there's a possibility you'll see 1 to 2 to 3 rehab starts before that target date for
Yeah.
Verlander.
Yeah, he needs to get right, and I think Verlander will appreciate and would be better with those rehab starts as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's a very different mindset, different aspect of the game when you're actually facing live hitters instead of a live bullpen, because you're going against guys that you don't know, and some of the guys too that are hitting against you, maybe they do know your stuff, but not too as much as the opposing team from these teams that he'll be facing later in the future. So
Yeah, and like for example, Montgomery's throwing about 70, like he ramped up to 70 plus pitches, but has yet to face major league hitting, and I'm sure he'll get a rehab start as well, just because again throwing bullpens is a lot different than facing live hitting. So just to go with your point, what you said there.
yeah. And last but not least, on injury updates, we got Gray Kessinger. Thursday, Kessinger wasn't able to run or do no type of infield drills, and then he should supposedly resume baseball action on Sunday, doing some infield drills with the team. We have no idea if he has done so or not. I haven't seen no updates on him lately on from the media, from social media as well. So it depends too with him. If he's not progressing well going into opening day, then you could be looking at another player stepping up, possibly David Hensley, I would say, to kind of back him up and bring him possibly to the IL or just miss some starts.
Yeah, and again, I know you kind of predicted him to make the opening day roster, but this injury could actually affect that.
Hmm.
Again, like you said, we don't have any info on that, so it's just a wait and see game. Opening, he has a few days to get right if he is to make the roster. So, I mean, and then, but the thing that concerns me is Thursday he wasn't able to run or do info drills, but it's just to see, you know, I want to see an update before I could
We,
make.
we we've done with some. We talked about this last episode. We've done with some hamstring strains. We know how that feels.
Yeah,
That is not a pretty feeling. That them things hurt.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But thank you so for all those injury updates. But let's move on to Astros news, and let's start with a big one. Uh, Astros are still eyeing Jordan Montgomery again. We just kind of talked about that. They're trying to they're trying to upgrade their pitching depth, and this is according to Jim Bowden. Jordan Montgomery has two teams offering him long term contracts, and his market has finally hit, and it's getting competitive. Four teams: Arizona, Philadelphia, New York Yankees, and Houston lost significant stars to injuries, and even the Red Sox are still involved to some degree as well. So there's floor playoff teams, right? Houston could be part of them, especially since those injury updates, and it's just a wait and see game. But my my thing is, if it's a long term contract, I I don't think that's the Astros. I know,
I
for me,
just don't
but
see that. I just don't
yeah,
see that either.
yeah. I mean, yes, they paid Verlander for 2 years, right, at the age of 41, but I don't see the Astros going to launch a deal to a 31-year-old pitcher. So, um, I think they're trying to do the Blake Snell contract, or maybe a 3-year deal, but with opt outs, and we'll pay you this much. But if he does sign a long term deal, I don't think I don't think it'll be in the Astros uniform.
Yeah, I don't think the two team offering I would have to say is either Arizona or New York.
Yeah.
Philly, I don't think so either. Just for the fact that they just signed Aaron Nola. They just signed. I think they had given a contract extension to Zach Wheeler as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they still
Yeah.
have Ranger Suarez, Christopher Sanchez. They got some depth just like the Astros in that starting rotation. Houston has a bunch of depth, but of course, like we talked about, and on the info that you gave us, there's just so many starters lost just due to injuries. So New York makes sense because if you remember, the Yankees did offer Blake Snell a 6-year deal, so that's pretty. moderate to
Hmm.
long term, I would say. And then Arizona right now, I think Eduardo Rodriguez is dealing with an injury.
Okay.
But I mean, just imagine with that starting rotation, if you sign Jordan Montgomery to the Diamondbacks, Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, Eduardo Rodriguez, and then Jordan Montgomery. So that I think that makes a ton of sense for Arizona, even New York, because of just the of the news he got from Garrett Cole, Nestor Cortez, and then Carlos Rodon. Rodon's been iffy in some
Yeah.
starts in spring training. So them two teams are the only ones I can see. Red Sox, it's kind of I don't know. They're like circling around Jordan so much. I
I don't
just
know
don't
why.
see the
I
Red
don't know
Sox
why.
happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't see it happening. I just think it's either Arizona or New York.
Yeah, I feel like if the Red Sox wanted to, they would have made this deal happen a long time ago. And it's just more like, I feel like it's, I could be wrong, but I think it's more like, oh, we tried just to please the Ross, like the people
Yeah.
on the inside, like the players. It's like, yeah, I mean, we tried, we couldn't get it done, but I don't think realistically they don't want to see it. I don't think it's gonna
I
happen.
think they make their team more competitive if they do sign him. I
Yeah,
think
which
they
is
won't be a lock on like in last place because a lot of projections and standings right now they got the Red Sox in last place. So I really, if they would have, I honestly think if they signed Jordan Montgomery, there's a possibility that they're in a good spot to position themselves in a wild card spot. I would say so. And then plus, I mean, Jordan's been pitching over there at Boston College. I think you're on mute, but and
I
honestly,
think
it
he's
just
around the area.
yeah. So it just makes no sense why the Red Sox front office would not try to attempt to sign him because I think he'll make their starter rotation pretty good. Because I don't even know who is their opening day starter. Oh, Brian Bayo.
Okay, Brian
But
Bale.
after that, I mean, they really don't have any type of starters in my head that are pretty good. Because they just traded away Chris Sale too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like a lot of question marks with that team on the East Coast, but we'll see how it plays out. But to stick with the Astros news, Alex Bregman, I know it's a contract year, so he's starting off on a good note. He had a great spring. Bregman's last game against the Mets, he finished 3 for 3 with a double, two home runs, 6 RBIs. Talk about trying to end spring training with a bang on that one.
Literally.
In in 16 games, he finished at the spring hitting 383 with 18 hits, four doubles, two home runs, 8 RBIs, and 1.025 OPS. After the
Wow.
game, Bregman was asked if the Astros ever approached him with a contract extension and said he hasn't received a contract extension offer from the Astros, but is willing to let Scott Boras negotiate during the season. What do you make of that situation?
Well, for the Astros, you're kind of pleased what he had said. I mean, he's open to negotiating during the season. A lot of free agent players that are about to like go into free agency at that point says no. If it's not before the season starts, then I'm not listening to no contract offers. I'm not, I'm just ready to play ball. And that's what Alex Bregman said too. He's just ready to play. But allowing the Astros to be able to negotiate with Scott Boras, which Boras has done a great job negotiating deals with the Astros. Of course, there's been days that they haven't, you know, gone into terms, but Altuve is a Scott Boras agent. I want to say Lance McCullers is a Scott Boras agent as well. Being able to do them contract deals with them. Of course, you have a lot of mixed feelings with that contract extension with Lance McCullers. A lot of Astros fans have expressed themselves on that. But other than that, being able to do that during the season, I think that's a positive point for the Astros, even for Bregman too, because I believe Bregman does want to stay in Houston. We did have Robert Flores on the show earlier in the year to talk about this point, and he doesn't even, he just doesn't think. And we even said it ourselves. I don't think if it's between Kyle Tucker, Framber Valdez, and Alex Bregman, I think the Astros will lean towards Tucker. But now looking at this, there's there could be a good shot that the Astros do and well indeed, just depending on how Alex Bregman's playing this season.
Yeah, I feel the Astros. There's two ways they can play this, and like you said, the first one could be they have they have talks during the season for a contract extension. Something gets done during the season, or even a little bit after, or it could be they've seen what the market has been for Scarborough clients that they want all this much and then end up not getting it, and they might throw the dice and say, "Hey, we're gonna let Bregman so-called walk," and then once the market goes down, work out a deal, right? So it just depends, but I agree with your point where if it's between Kyle Tucker and Bregman, it's going to be Kyle Tucker. He's just younger. He's been a little bit more consistent than Bregman has. Because Bregman hasn't returned really to that 2019 season. I mean, he's shown glimpses of it that in recent seasons that he can, but it's just he hasn't been able to find it all together. Now, I think he has a great season this year. It's a contract year, so he has that extra motivation as well. So it'll be interesting to see what plays out for that.
Yeah, I mean, this has been the best spring he swung the bat. The last time he swung the bat this really well was back in 2019. He had a 323 batting average. After that, 2020, I don't know if you really want to count 2020. We'll count it. 200 batting average. 2021, he had a 250. Same goes for 2022. And 2023, he had a 279 batting average. He did say he was fixing up his swing in Phoenix in Arizona where he was training. So, I mean, I'm not saying the doors are closed for Bregman being in an Astros uniform. It's just, to me, I think you got to think long term if you're going to continue this success. If the Astros are going to continue the success that they're having, um, there's a lot to go. There's a lot of pros and there's a lot of cons because if you think about it too, if you let Bregman walk, who's going to be the guy at third base? Will Wagner has shown some flashes that he can do that job. Of course, the Astros did draft Bryce Matthews, who was a shortstop. Maybe he could target into a third baseman, just like Bregman did. There's just a lot of kind of factors go into play to see what the future is for Alex Bregman. A lot of people have expressed him being in Astros uniform for the rest of his career. A lot of others have talked about, going away from him and just figuring out the next kind of guy to successfully sign for a long-term deal. But I think it just would have to go to see if what happens during the season. That's really up to the management and to Alex Bregman as well.
Yeah, but a guy that could be a potential for an extension is Kyle Tucker, and just like Bregman, he's having a good spring as well. Tucker launched a ball to right center and hit a fan in the head. I don't know if you saw that, but she was on her phone, like staring back. Like at first, it looked like she's recording, but it got me thinking: if you're recording and you don't see the ball coming straight to you, that's kind of an issue there. But it looks like she was on her phone and it just hit her right, and gave her a little big thump on her head. But that's why you should pay attention.
Yeah.
Espada and Dana Brown have also considered hitting Jordan and Tucker back to back in the lineup. And you know what? I'll give you credit for that one because um, I had said it was going to be Altuve, uh, Alvarez, Bregman, and Tucker, which it had played out like throughout early on in spring, and now late in spring, we're seeing the back to back lefties. So we'll see how it'll be interesting these next two games. I'll pay attention to the way the lineup is on Monday or Tuesday. I think that'll be give us some more glimpse of what actually happened, and it might be both. Honestly, it might be one days he feels like back to back lefties will be better, or sometimes one after the other.
I think it depends too on the starter. I would say too.
Yeah.
Just see.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then it's been official. Hunter Brown will start Game 3 against the Yankees. So there goes your three guys. And I think both of us kind of knew that. Most Astros fans kind of knew that as well. It was going to be Hunter Brown for Game 3. But let's talk a little bit more into the Astros minor leaguers that were sent to AAA recently, because like Joey Zapata said beforehand, is if you made it to camp this far, you have a great chance of making the roster. And a big surprise that we kind of said was Joey Loperfido not making the roster, but it makes sense just because this is what came from Astros camp, is that Joey Loperfido will play some center field and some first base. So I think I think it's just getting his feet like his feet wet more in first base. I mean, he's played it before, but not just needs a little bit more experience. Like just can't show up to a job with a week of experience and then they throw you out there, right? So I think that's the main reason he's not in the major league roster. It's just to get that work in first base, especially in the outfield. Do you have any take on that?
Yeah, the biggest thing for me was him staying first base.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've talked about this too last time. When he played in college, he played with Duke, and he has played some first base over there. He hasn't played since first base, I believe, in the minors. For him to get some, some reps, I would say at first base is pretty good because you don't know what the future is going to look like for John Singleton. You don't know with Jose Abreu too with his health because last year there was a lot of parts of the season that Abreu was dealing with some type of injury, but putting John Singleton too to see what his back can do for the Astros. And if it just doesn't go well, then there you go. You get a guy like Loperfido that has some experience at first, bring him up and he could back up. And I mean, he's a lefty too. So you would lose John Singleton, which he is a great player, but you'd back him up with another great guy like Luperfido, which this was his first spring training. I don't know if you noticed this. I did not know this. This was his first spring training and he finished with a 382 batting average, 7 RBIs, 1 stolen base, OPS over 1. I mean, the kid did a fabulous job. You can't say much for him just being able just to grow, I would say.
Yeah, similar to Bregman numbers,
Mhm.
that he put this big. But there, although I'm sure Joey Loperfido is kind of upset he didn't make the major league team, there is still hope. According to Channel Rome, manager Joe Espada told Loperfido he'll have a chance to impact the major league team this year. So the plan is, and then that kind of brings me back to the point I said earlier. I'm sure the plan is for him to get some work down there,
Mhm.
especially at first base, and then make an impact on the team, just like Joe Espada said. So there's still hope. I'm sure. I'll say I'm 80% sure that Littlefield will be in the major league roster this year. Not you know soon. He'll be
So,
there
so
soon.
what dates you're targeting then? Give me a month. I would say you target which week or are you
You
talking
know,
early this, mid, or end? What are you thinking?
I would say in a perfect world, maybe like mid June, mid July,
That's what
like
I'm
in the
leaning
summer months.
towards.
But beware because maybe like an injury to John Singleton or an injury to an outfielder. Hopefully not,
Mhm.
right? But could fast track him to the major leagues as well.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of guys have done it over the seasons. You see JP France. I mean, all these other guys that come from the prospects, Andrew Diaz as well, Hunter Brown. So Loperfido is going to get his chance this year too. I agree with you.
Yeah, and then some other guys, Shea Whitcomb, Pedro Leon, Joel Cuno. Did I just say that name right?
Cool. No, yeah, you got it.
Cuno, and then CJ Stubbs. And Pedro Leon has had a pretty good spring too. That's another guy to look out for as well. Espada will play his regular guys on Monday and Tuesday against the Space Cowboys. If you're not aware, the Astros will be in Minute Park on Monday and Tuesday, and they'll play two exhibition games against the AAA affiliate Space Cowboys. So fans can buy tickets to that, and go check them out. It's a great time to interact with the guys you'll see every day, but also those prospects, and just give a glimpse of what they got.
Yeah.
And our last bit is around the horn, and let's start with the biggest news that baseball has gotten, and I would say maybe his signing earlier this season. Shohei Ohtani is back in the spotlight now. This time a little bit more negative spotlight than he had earlier. But MLB has officially launched an investigation over the allegations of Shohei Ohtani and MP Misara. Now, if you're not aware of what's going on, I'm sure most of people who follow baseball closely, or even if you're just like a casual, fan, I'm sure you heard the news that AP Mazzara's, which is Shohei Ohtani's interpreter, was fired by the Dodgers for illegal gambling. So far, the news has said that Shohei Ohtani has not or did not know what was going on. That he found out when Masara held a team meeting about the negative news that will be coming out with him. But the thing that gets me is that supposedly, the way the news is kind of mixed up is I heard rumors that Otani let EP Mazzari borrow or gave $4.5 million to pay off the books, but then um, other news says that he stole from Shohei Ohtani,
Mhm.
this like to pay off his thing. So it's just a lot of news and false news, but we'll get to hear Ohtani point of view of all this saga on Monday. So if you're hearing us, we're recording on Sunday. So if you're hearing us today, he will discuss the matter of what's the whole situation going on. But do you have? I mean, I have my thoughts, but do you have any thoughts of what's going on? Like, do you believe the story that they're putting out there, or what's your take on that?
It's kind of hard to track where to go with this story, honestly, because you're like you're saying, you have all this false narratives. You're hearing all these rumors and all these other things going around Otani, and you've even, they've even talked to some people from the Angels, organization, and they said they've, never seen Otani pay attention to any other sport,
Mhm.
and it's like you don't know what to believe. You don't know, that's the thing about the internet too. Is like you're
Yeah,
never gonna know what's right and what's wrong. But I think this would be a big. I mean, this is big on baseball. Period. I mean,
yeah.
this is like you had the Seoul series in Korea. What by the way was really nice to watch
Hmm.
baseball over there. It was nice to see it on ESPN. Great atmosphere if you've seen the game, but having this start to the season is just crazy. It's
Yeah,
just eye opening, especially with Otani because Otani's like I feel like in my opinion, he's the golden boy of Major League Baseball.
yeah,
He's the guy that's gonna put money in Major League Baseball's pocket. So it's just interesting to see what's gonna happen, what comes out of Otani's conference on Monday too. But for me,
yeah,
my opinion is just it's right now. It's just too hard to
mhm,
tell what's gonna happen or who to believe and try to figure
yeah,
out all the facts.
yeah. I think you and I probably won't say anything until we know all the facts, all the details. So, but you're right. Like it's just like not a slap to the face, but it really affects Major League Baseball, like you were saying, because this is the guy who brings, like you said, not just like money to Major League Baseball, but viewership internationally, like Japan and those South Korea as well, Thailand, like all those Asian countries, and not just like everywhere, right? So he's
Mhm.
like you said, the golden boy, right? He's the one that's brings in all these people. Like for example, when we we're at the press box when Shohei Ohtani was there, it was packed for an Angels game. Like
Oh yeah,
just yeah. So that one I didn't expect, but it's just how much press Shohei Ohtani has. So again, we're not gonna comment until we get all the details, all the facts. But yeah, everybody has their opinions of what's been going on.
yeah.
But
And real quick, let me add on to that too. Like I wonder, um, because now I don't know if Bob Nightingale had mentioned that there's a possibility that the Cubs and the Dodgers will play a game in Japan next year.
mhm,
So I wonder if that's going to affect it, like you were saying with the viewership too internationally. I don't even think on it. Like in my opinion, this is just me. I don't think this Korea series happens without Otani's kind of, I guess you could say influence.
influence, yeah,
Yeah,
mhm,
because I mean the biggest obviously he's not Korean, but in that specific, not nationality, but ethnicity, race, kind of towards that target range, I would say. I mean that's big for him. Even though Ha-Sung Kim, I feel like is the guy because he is Korean. He did play for the Korean national team. But bringing that viewership over there to Japan could be a possibility for next year. I don't know what happens too for that
no, yeah.
aspect of it.
So I mean, I don't think that goes away. I think just Major League Baseball has done a great job, and yes, Shohei Ohtani is the biggest star from Japan, but he's not the only one. So I don't think it goes away. But it really does take a big hit into Major League Baseball. But more on to facts that we do know. Jackson Chourio, uh, which is MLB's pipeline number two prospect, and if you don't recall, got a huge payday, 8 year, $82 million contract, to buy off his arbitration years. Well, he made the opening day roster. I mean, I feel that's pretty obvious. He's the number one prospect for the Milwaukee. When you pay a guy that much, he's gonna be playing in the major leagues. He's not gonna sign that contract to be playing in the minors. So, I think that was, I think that was pretty obvious for me. But a surprising one, Wyatt Langford. which is the Rangers' number 2 prospect, had an amazing spring. I think he had 6, 7 home runs this spring.
I think he led in RBIs too. I
Did
want to
he?
say. I want to say he's up there though.
I think he had 20 something RBIs.
I'll check it out real quick for you.
But no, I think it is because I think I saw the fact that Josh Hamilton holds the league, holds the records, Rangers record for most RBIs in spring. It was 27.
He had 20 RBIs, 375 batting average, 6 home runs, 20 RBIs. What a spring for this kid. I think this was his first full spring training too, I want to say.
Yeah, as well. And
yeah, it was. Wow.
It was great. And I think he got his due as well by making the opening day roster. I'm not too familiar with the position he plays. Like, is he going to be more of a DH? Do you know, or is it?
I don't know. Let me check that real quick. I thought he was an outfielder, I want to say.
Okay.
But just think about it too. The Tigers drafted Max Clark before Wyatt Langford. Well, there's nothing against Max Clark.
Yeah.
But I mean, Langford did
he's
play
not on the major league roster. But he's not on the major league roster, so
yeah. Okay, real quick.
Then,
left fielder, center fielder, and catcher. That I just wanted to point that out. That's what Baseball Reference. That's what Baseball Reference has in his.
Okay. No,
in his.
I believe you. So. Like it's just a well repertoire because I feel like catching is one of those like you're catcher but don't do anything else, or usually position players don't catch. But
hey, don't talk about that to Kenley Jansen because Kenley Jansen made that happen.
Emergency catcher there, the Rangers emergency catcher, Wyatt Langford. But another rookie who had a great season but did not make the major league roster was Jackson Holliday, which is MLB Pipeline's number 1 prospect and the Orioles' number 1 prospect. He was reassigned to minor league camp. Is that shocking to you, or is it, or did you expect that to happen?
Honestly, that is shocking to me. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Okay.
Now, that is very shocking. I mean, he did have a great spring. I did see. I don't know the numbers on the top of my head. I don't have it in front of me. I think he has a 300 over like a batting average over 300. The guys, I think the Orioles do need depth in the infield. I'm not saying nothing against. I mean, you're gonna have Gunnar Henderson over there at third or short. Just depend too on Ramon Urias as well. You got Anthony Santander that could play first. Who's another guy?
I'm looking it up.
O'Hearn is another guy that could play first. It's the middle infield, I would say. And I thought Jackson Holliday would have been that guy to.
You got Gunnar Henderson.
I think he could. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. He could. I think Holliday though too could have been the starting second baseman. But I'm trying to think of the guy. His last name's Mateo. But
George
I don't know his first name. Yeah,
George Mateo.
So I don't know who's going to be the starting second baseman. Adam Frazier was the guy last year for the Orioles. So I honestly, this was a shocker to me. I thought Jackson Holliday, the way he was swinging the bat this spring, of course he played the spring breakout game, went against Paul Skeens, was pretty cool to see that. But the spring I thought he had was pretty good. I thought it was good enough for him to get a starting spot in second base.
Yeah, I was gonna say. The other thing is for me is the reason it's not shocking is just because he's still kind of young. He is 20. Like there's guys that don't break the league to 20, like 21. They got you know what? I think he'll be like a Loperfido maybe mid-season. He gets.
Oh yeah, I think he does get picked up this season.
But my thing is, are the Orioles trying to get one more year of Jackson Holliday? What I mean about that is, if he breaks the major league roster today, his service time starts today. Whereas I think if they bring him, if they call him up, I think after July, I'm not mistaken, that service time, like he'll still be a rookie. Then the following year, which they get basically like another half a year for his services. So I think that I don't know if that's the thing. Again, I'm not in their front office meetings or anything like that, but that could be a possibility too, just to get the thing. Because I'm sure if Jackson Holliday lives up to the expectation of what he's projected to be, the Orioles are going to have to pay him a lot of money in the near future. So I think that could be another factor on that.
Yeah, I was going to point out. I mean, Jackson Chourio is
19, I think.
Yeah, he's 20.
Oh, he's 22.
No,
But
he's 20. 22 is Wyatt Langford. Langford is
okay,
22. But I now when you're making that point, I feel like that's kind of true. Like maybe that's the reason why they didn't put him on the opening day roster. There's no way he doesn't make his debut this
yeah,
year. There's
because
just no way.
he had a great spring. He was batting 311, 2 home runs, 6 RBIs, on base percentage 354, and OPS of 954. I mean, almost 1,000 as well. So, I mean, almost over one. So and he did get a lengthy at bats. He had 45 at bats this spring, so they're playing him pretty much out there. So again, I think again I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it. I think he did, but I'm not
Mhm.
surprised he didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I just shocking, but like you make a good point now, because if you remember, Randy Rosarena played like 2, 3 years of rookie and
Yeah,
getting rookie of the year, like one of those years.
yeah. But and then lastly, JD Martinez has finally found a home. Martinez signed a 1 year, 12 million deal for John Heyman. He actually declined a little bit more money from the Giants before signing
Mhm.
with the Mets. I think he declined maybe I think a million or $2 million that the Giants had offered him. He declined it to go to New York. Which I mean, I don't know if he just want to play the Dodgers, but they're both tough divisions. So I don't know. I don't know about that.
He had said something about the ballpark dimensions. He said hitter.
Did
He
he?
said city. Yeah, he said City Field was more of a hitter friendly ballpark for him compared to Oracle Park. Because obviously, if you remember, I mean, if you look at Oracle Park, I mean, right center, that's a huge gap over there. Of course, too, in right field, you got that big wall before you hit the McCovey Cove. And left field, I don't know what the dimensions over there in left field, but I did hear something about that. That was the reason why he didn't go to San Fran, was just because of what he, I guess you could say, too, the stages of his career is. I think what he's like in his mid 30s. He still
Yeah.
wants to win some games. He's
Are you trying to seek in?
still
We're trying to seek in a few more home runs.
yeah. So I think City Field does make sense. I mean, he does make the lineup, I say, for the Mets a little bit better than it was before.
My bad for interrupting as well. I
Nah, you're
apologize.
good. You're good. But does our audience want to see what we're giving away on Thursday, real quick? Little
Oh
sneak
yeah,
preview.
I totally forgot. Lorenzo did mention to me over the phone that there's gonna be an opening day raffle. Go
Not
ahead.
raffle. I don't. I wouldn't say
Oh,
raffle.
giveaway,
Giveaway.
free raffle, giveaway, a free
Free
raffle give.
raffle giveaway. But
Hmm?
here's what we're going to be giving away: a
Ooh, that's
Framber Valdez. This is the 2022 Quality Star Tour.
mm-hmm.
Obviously, it has that 25 plaque. I'm not. I don't feel like opening it right now. I'll probably open it on
No,
Wednesday night
you
when
know,
we do another.
oh, well, I keep it fresh for the people who will be getting
If you're,
it.
yeah, if you remember, that's the 2022 Quality Star Tour. So yeah, we'll give this away as our opening day prize. Of course, we'll have our, here and there what you need to do to enter and all that stuff. But Angel, I mean, wow, dude, wow, we are what? Let me see, 3 days away from opening day.
And then
If
this
I'm
is
doing
what
my math correct.
is this year 3 for Full Steam Ahead now? Like I know I
Year
joined it
three,
later
yeah.
in yeah.
Year three for me. Two. Not this will be your second year, but 3 years of doing this podcast. Wow, it's been some up and downs. It's been some fun times, of course. The privileges that we get to do and being able to share the baseball content that we produce, and especially the Astros content, as we're doing what we can to spread the news of Astros baseball to everybody. So we
Hmm.
appreciate y'all.
Appreciate all the support again. I think we never get tired of saying that because without you, there is no podcast. So thank you out. Thank you for everything.
Definitely. So we'll be back. I promise you, because we've been saying this every week. I would say we've been saying we're doing 2 episodes a week, but now baseball season is here. We will be going back to our original kind of daily routine, not daily routine, but
Original
the routine.
podcasts.
Yeah, the original routine that we usually do. Every series, after every series, we'll do a podcast. So you're looking at 2 a week. Yeah, it's usually 2 a week or 3 a week, but it's really two. So a lot of big things coming, like we said. Angel, you want to tell everybody where we can follow and all that stuff?
Oh yeah, just in case you forgot while you were hearing us, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. go see those videos. Go like, comment. Did I say Instagram already? Threads, YouTube, Spotify. We're everywhere. We're global too. I think we have some listeners up in Belgium and a few other European countries as well. So you know where to find us.
Yeah, the Aussies, great brands, but
Oh,
another one
awesome.
that's been coming up. So, like we said, worldwide, we appreciate every single one of y'all tuning in and listening to our content and our. Well, we'll be bringing you the preview coming up for the Yankees. We also have a new segment coming up too. We usually do our other segment, but we'll talk about that maybe next week. Maybe when we conclude that
Wow,
first.
that's news to me too. Oh man,
That first podcast episode. So until then, y'all have a safe week, and we'll talk to y'all on our live episode on Wednesday. So y'all stay safe and have a blessed week.
peace.